Gran Turismo the movie is way better than I expected to be. It might actually be a good movie overall. Let's talk about it now. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watch Your Pass. Today I'm here to talk to you about Gran Turismo, which comes to theaters on August 11th, 2023. It is the movie that is based on the video game. Well, it's kind of based on the iconic PlayStation video game. Look, I was always more of a Forza Horizon person. I'm not like a super simulator person. I'm a video game person, but I appreciate Gran Turismo. I appreciate what it does. I play a little bit of Forza regular, which I guess is similar, but I appreciate Gran Turismo. I appreciate what it does. Look, I've got my PlayStation shirt on. I'm ready to go. Let's talk about this movie based on the video game, based on the actual true story. So, first, though, my hot take. Look, I actually liked it. I didn't expect to like it. I didn't think this movie was going to be good, but it is actually a pretty good movie. It is a good video game movie, and it's actually a good just like sports drama movie. It has some really great racing action. It has some fun characters. Right, enough references from the video game that you kind of get the connections. And the craziest thing is it's based on a true story. So I really liked it. I thought it was actually much better than I expected. So I'm gonna tell you a little about the film, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then go very briefly into the ending. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the ending section. If you don't want to know what happens in this film, I would turn it off when I get there. Before that, I'll keep it vague, I'll keep it spoiler free, and I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So first things first. Gran Turismo is based on a true story. So the film is a story of Jann Mardenborough, who was a British kid, British teen who just loved playing Gran Turismo. He was really good at Gran Turismo. He played a lot of GT5 on the PlayStation 3, just religiously played it. And because he was so good at the game, he won a chance to go to this thing called GT Academy, sponsored by Nissan, where he was able to actually like race real cars. And at GT Academy, they're always asking the question, like, can a sim racer make it in the real world? Can a really good Gran Turismo player translate those skills onto the track? Well, the kind of rest of the movie looks at whether or not that is true and what happened to Jann after he made it to GT Academy. So, that being said, things I liked about this movie. The first, look, it's a racing movie. It's called Gran Turismo. The racing action is actually really good. The races themselves are very entertaining. Like when I was watching them, I was getting like tight in my chest. I was getting nervous. There are some very exciting moments in the film, and it's great that a movie based on a game that is so interested in having good racing action itself has really good racing action. I thought that made this movie more credible. It made it more exciting to watch. It definitely made it much more entertaining. The second thing I love, look, I like the world traveling. I like how this film, just like in the video game, you go all over the world. You go to various venues for these races that happen. And I just love that, each place feels very different and feels very over the top. It does feel like both how, I guess, how the racing world is, but also how like it must feel to be in Gran Turismo. Like, one day you're in Dubai, the next day you're in Tokyo, the next day you're in Germany. And it kind of has that same feel during the film. The third thing I love, look, I love the kind of like hints of Gran Turismo in there. Like the film is based on Gran Turismo, but it's also based on a real story. I think they really tried to toe that line very well. And so a lot like during the races, you'll see like a little marker for Jann's car, and it'll have his place, kind of like in the video game. And occasionally there will be some like Gran Turismo style scenes, like views from the cockpit, racing lines, things like that. But it doesn't go overboard. I actually kind of wish it had a little bit more, but I did appreciate that it put those in there so that you would have like those knowing references to the Gran Turismo game, even though you're kind of racing in real life and even though this is based on a true story. The fourth thing I like, look, I love the stakes. I like how this film had some very dramatic moments, and it really felt like Jann's future was kind of up in the air in a lot of these instances. So I like that this film felt dramatic, had big dramatic moments, and kind of made you really kind of buy into Jann's character and his plight. The fifth thing I like, look, I like the twist, not just like the twists in the track as it's going around, but there are some pretty big story twists that happen that seem to be based on actual events in Jann's life. Now, the order is a little bit out of order, and I'll go into that later in the recap, but there are some big twists that happen that I was not expecting. There are some moments where I was like, this would be a perfect time to end, and then something else happens and it kind of throws you for a loop. I really like that surprise and the way that the film kind of kept going. And the last thing I love, look, I love that it is based on a true story and that it actually is a true story. Now, they take some liberties with the timeline, they rearrange some events, but a lot of the main things that happened in this film were based on Jann Mardenborough's real life and real events that happened. So I did like that. I like that this film is based on a true story and actually like included some of the true story aspects, especially at the end. There's an epilogue that shows like images of Jann and what he really looked like compared to the things that happened in the film. I love when films do that. I love when they kind of like show their work and aren't afraid to like show that these are actual things that happened. So that being said, I really like this film. As you can tell, things I didn't love as much the first, it does feel like exercise in marketing at times, which is expected, right? It's Gran Turismo. It's based on a video game. You expect some marketing in there, but it goes overboard occasionally, and that's expected. Like there are so many references to this being like the most ultra realistic sim, that this thing is so real. XYZ, like Gran Turismo is the greatest game ever made. It felt like it was wearing at times. There's a lot of like PlayStation branding. There's a lot of like Sony branding. Again, it makes sense. It's a Sony film. It's a PlayStation film. It just at times it feels like the marketing message really pushes through a little bit to the detriment of the movie message. Like I said, I still really like this movie. I thought it was really well done. So it didn't throw me off or make me dislike the film. It just was definitely noticeable. And the second thing I didn't love as much, this is very, very minor. I said I liked the stakes. I said I liked the drama. There is some writing that makes this a little bit over dramatic. It's not a big deal. It happens occasionally, and it's kind of what you would expect in a video game type movie. I actually, it felt like some aspects of this were essentially a story mode of Gran Turismo, like what you would expect in like an EA Sports game where they have the My Journey or whatever the story mode of that game is. A lot of these sometimes feel like they were pulled straight out of that, and that makes some over dramatic scenes happen. But it's okay because it moves the story along, it ups the stakes, and it didn't really pull me out too much. It just felt a little hokey at times. So that being said, I really liked Gran Turismo. I did not expect to like Gran Turismo, but I really liked Gran Turismo. I think it's a good movie. So definitely check it out when it comes to theaters on August 11th, 2023. I'm going to go into a short recap of the film and point out some of the things that happened that apparently were real events that happened in Jann's life. So if you don't want to know what happens in this movie, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. But look, it's based on a true story, so maybe you already know the story. That being said, in Gran Turismo, you have Jann Mardenborough, who a kid that just loves Gran Turismo. He loves racing, he loves playing, and he's really, really good. Unfortunately, the rest of his family doesn't support his love of Gran Turismo. His brother plays for Cardiff City, which is a team in Wales. They are currently in the championship. They've gone to the top flight. They've gone to the Premier League, apparently 17 seasons in their history, which is pretty good. But they kind of come up and down between the Premier League and the championship. They didn't say specifically where they were in the movie. I'm gonna guess championship. Maybe his brother actually played for them in the championship, but it seemed like he was like a youth team player. But also, Jan's dad played for Cardiff City when he was a player as well. So there's definitely a support of soccer, well, football in this movie because it's based in Wales, but not for sim driving. And his family just wants him to like get a real job, stop with this hobby, the kind of normal stuff you expect in a movie about gamers. But Jann is very good, and eventually he earns an invite to GT Academy, which is this like program that was set up by Nissan to get the top rated Gran Turismo players over to like actually test out their skills on real track cars. And it seems like maybe like in the movie, it's like a marketing ploy. They like are using this to get the top sim racers, and then the winner of this contest is going to get a racing contract with Nissan. I don't think that's how it worked in real life. I think this academy thing was just something that they pulled people out to. They could show their skills in real cars. It was kind of like a marketing TV show type of thing, but still a really cool opportunity. Like you're playing the games, you're getting really good at the simulation. Does that translate into real life? Apparently it sometimes does. So now in the movie, Jann has to compete against the best GT players in the world. And it is a tough race. It is a tough challenge, but he eventually able to win the contest. He gets his contract with Nissan. But now he goes into the second kind of leg of this world. And this film has a couple different acts, and it's kind of nice. It definitely kept the things moving along. It definitely kept his goals kind of like moving forward as he's progressing. You would think he wins this racing contract. He won, great. Nope, there's more now. Now he's in his rookie contract, and he needs to get his racing license. And to do that, he has to finish fourth or above in the 6 races in this circuit. As you would imagine, being a brand new racer who has only kind of like one race at Nissan Academy, it is tough going. But eventually, he gets the confidence of his pit crew. He gets the confidence of his supervisor, manager, whatever. This old racer named Jack Salter, played by David Harbour, who is really fantastic in this film. He like has that right balance of angry bitterness, but also kind of like supporting Jann when he needs it. It is a fun character for him to play, and he does a really good job. Also, Orlando Bloom is Danny Moore, the marketing person who like is behind this idea, was also a lot of fun. He definitely felt like a marketing person. You can feel his like vision in the film. There's just a lot of really fun characters in this journey. Now, Eventually, in the last race, Jann is able to finish 4th. He gets his racing license, and now he's able to compete more. He's able to kind of like continue on on the racing circuit. And the next race is Nuremberg, which is a big race. But you know, if you're a GT player, you've probably done that loop thousands and thousands of times, logged hundreds of hours. So he knows it. He knows this race. He knows this loop, and he's doing really well. I thought this would be kind of the end, right? Like the first act was him getting the GT Academy and winning. The second act was him doing these races, which were all over the world. It was really fun. It was like Dubai, it was like Tokyo, Germany. I think Italy was also in there. It was fun to like have them world travel all over the place. Now we are in Nuremberg and he's doing well. You think everything's going to go well. I was like, okay, he's going to win this. Like, this is going to be a great way to end. He's going to like win Nuremberg, or at least place on the podium. He's going to show that sim racers can do it. This will be a great way to end this film. But no, on the straightaway, when he's competing against another racer who's kind of his rival the entire time, this person named Kappa, who is like, has the best of everything, the best cars, the best support, the most money. He is Jann's rival throughout this. They're competing. They're trying to like, they're jockeying for position. Jann gets the position, keeps going, keeps speeding up. And when he hits this little like, you know, ramp-ish looking thing, the wind is apparently blowing at just the right angle that when his car gets there, it goes vertical. It like keeps going. He loses control. It crashes into some spectators. Jann is able to kind of like escape relatively injury-free, but a spectator is killed at this. And so now he is crushed because this thing that he loves, this thing that he like wasn't sure if he was prepared to do, he has now killed someone, and that grief is just like weighing on him. Now there is an investigation. You know, his team is supporting it, although there is some blowback from this. Like Nissan is getting concerned because someone died. Like they're obviously concerned that maybe they are fielding this racer that is not experienced enough, that is not safe enough. And there is also some like social media outrage as well. But an investigation happens that like clears Jann of any sort of like misdeed. It was just a freak accident essentially. So he's cleared. He gets to keep his license. He gets to keep racing. But there is a certain amount of like social media pressure from other racers who are calling for the sim racers to quit, to like stop doing this. They're not in the same league essentially. And what Danny comes up with is the way to save this, the way to kind of fix this all, is to have a team of all sim racers compete at Le Mans, a 24-hour Le Mans race, and place on the podium. Crazy idea, but he thinks he can do it, and he thinks that this will be just like the type of crazy event that will justify his whole dream and like legitimize these sim racers. So we got Jann. He calls in a couple of the other top finishers at GT Academy who had been racing in their own minor circuits since the Academy happened. And they get together a team to compete at Le Mans. And Le Mans is a 24-hour race, so it is a tough race. It is tough on everything. It's tough on your car. It's tough on you personally. They do 3-hour shifts for each racer, with Jann starting and then the other racers taking over. One is Matty, this kid that almost won the GT Academy, and then this other kid, Felix, who was the third person. So they all race. They are going through the night. There's a few mishaps here and there that cause them to lose some place. And one of those mishaps is when Jann is racing. He's doing great. He's, you know, pulling, he's gaining position, but there is an accident that happens just ahead of him. Someone takes the wrong angle, crashes into the barrier. His car goes up in flames. He's okay. He pulls himself out, but this shakes Jann. He's only thinking about the accident that he just had. And this causes him to not race as fast as he could and causes him to lose a bunch of position. I think he went from like 4th to like 9th. And eventually they're thinking about pulling him, but David Harbour's character, Jack Salter, gets on the phone and just like starts playing this like calm down music that Jann would always play before a race. He'd always play Kenny G and Enya. And this like makes Jann frustrated because he doesn't want to hear that. He just wants to think about the accident. And he just gets really angry at Jack. And Jack's like, "Are you angry?" He's like, "Yes, I'm angry." He's like, "Great. Now use that on the field." That jolts Jann back, and now he starts racing. It's a little bit of like an over dramatic scene, but you know what? It worked. It's fine. And now Jann is back in the race. Now they're going. Eventually, there was a mishap with some maintenance where someone like dropped the tool they needed. They didn't have a spare. The team Nissan is doing okay, but they are not in the position they want to be. Jann takes over with like 5 hours left because the previous racer, I think his name was Felix, started cramping. So Jann is in. He's gaining position. And eventually, in like a very video game moment, he tells Jack that like he needs to race this his way. Jann likes to take like wider lines, like not take the official racing lines, take like wider lines to kind of just see what the car could do, maybe test some of the limits, see what would work, what wouldn't work. And now he's saying, like, to gain position, I need to race the way that I want to race. And Jack's like, great, sure, whatever, go for it. And now Jann starts taking like non-optimal lines, but doing well. He's advancing, he's getting position. And while he's doing this, because he's driving so aggressive, because he's doing that, because he's taking these lines, he actually gets a like lap record for Le Mans, which like not just like a day record, but like a new best lap record for Le Mans, which is pretty crazy. That would be insane for anyone to do. And he's still gaining position. He is 6 seconds behind Kappa, his old rival. And there was this really great scene where this happened, where it actually showed like what those 6 seconds would be like, because you hear 6 seconds, you're like, oh, that's very close. But then they show the road, and like Kappa drives over, and it actually waits like 6 seconds before Jann drives over. And it's a really fantastic scene because it shows how fast they're going, but it also shows like how long that feels to be 6 seconds behind. I thought it was a really great scene, and also like helped you get a feel for like what the race would be like. So Jann is driving, he's driving, and it's the last stretch, and he's going for it. They're neck and neck. Jann pushes the car, and he eventually pulls ahead just a little bit. He beats Kappa, he gets third, he places on the podium, and it's a big moment for everyone, right? Like, he's a sim racer who has been racing not very long, and he places on the podium at Le Mans. A crazy, crazy moment. He finally gets to drink champagne. He finally gets to like celebrate in the winner's circle. When he gets out, there's like a scene, like a winning scene from GT, which I thought was a fun little touch. And that's it. He placed at Le Mans. He is a like real racer now. And during the credits, we see scenes from like Jann's life versus what happened in the game. And there are some pretty accurate scenes, like some scenes from him at GT Academy, some scenes from him racing. And apparently Jann actually was like a stunt double in this movie. Like, he was the stunt double for his character in the movie. His dad actually played for Cardiff City. There were some really like nice touches there as well. But so, like I said, the film is based on a true story. Jann's a real person. He was a sim racer who went into the actual racing circuit. There's a few, I think, deviations from the story in the actual story from what I was really quickly able to read. Like, Jann got to GT Academy, did well at GT Academy, then just started like racing on his own. Eventually, he did go to Le Mans. He did place third. So that was a huge accomplishment. And then the Nuremberg accident, that was a real thing that happened later. It happened the following year. And so it did shake him. It did kind of like shake his resolve, but he continued racing. He continues racing to this day. As you can see, he was a stunt double in this film. So I thought that was crazy that the Le Mans race was actually a real thing, that the Nuremberg crash was actually a real thing, that the GT Academy was actually a real thing. And I really like how the film weaved those together for a really exciting movie. So that is Gran Turismo. Like I said, it comes to theaters on August 11, 2023. I think you should watch it. I did not have high expectations for this movie, but this film just kind of like zoomed past all of my expectations, and I don't know, got the checkered flag in my heart, whatever you want to say. It's a pretty decent movie. Go check it out. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.